Hello, mech fans, and welcome to the Valhalla Club. Grab yourself a Timbeaky Dark, set up that paint booth, open that spreadsheet, and join us as we talk all things BattleTech.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Valhalla Club podcast. I'll be your bartender for the evening, Matt the Northman, and I've got with me tonight Mike the Viking, as well as two special guests. We've got David, and we've got Michael. How's everyone doing tonight?
Doing real good. How's it going?
Doing well.
Ben's fired.
Ben could not join us tonight, but Mike, you're here. It's all good. It's all good.
I just gotta give him shit.
Yeah, so welcome to our two guests, and we're just going to have some introductions right off the bat. Let's start with yourself, Michael. So what's kind of your history with BattleTech? What faction do you like? What's your favorite mech? And how do you like your eggs? I told you I'd ask that one, so there you go.
All right. Well, I've been playing BattleTech since 1988, and favorite mech. That's probably my least favorite question because
I think it's everybody's.
yeah, because there's so many good designs. There's a lot of bad ones too, but for a long time it was a Centurion. But I've kind of gravitated towards the Wolverine. I don't know, man. Thunderbolt, Battlemaster. Factions. There's probably going to be a lot of people that don't like this, but I like the Republic of the Sphere. And second would be, of course, the Golden Boys, Davian. And
Ooh.
I like my eggs either sunny side up or scrambled. So there you go.
The Golden Boys, yes. I'm a Davian. I like Davian as well. So, but Republic of the Sphere, that isn't one you hear very often. That's pretty cool.
I think Charles would approve.
He would, yeah. I think Charles would. How about yourself, David? What would you say is your favorites, faction, and mech, and what's kind of your history with BattleTech, and how do you like them eggs?
Well, so I got into this way back when I was a kid. I was watching TV, the cartoon came out, and I'm like, oh yeah, giant robots. I'm a weirdo. I'm a nerd. I love that. And a week or two later, my dad comes home with the game, and he's like, hey, you know that cartoon show you're watching? This is the game of it. And that would have been around, I think, 92 when the cartoon was out. So I've been playing it ever since. Love it. And just, there was a brief time where I didn't play so much because the game was almost dead. It was on live support, but once the computer game BattleTech came out, it was kind of full cylinders, and Mike actually got me back into it with a Facebook announcement at the local gaming store, which no longer exists, sadly. Pour one out for Dungeon Gaming Club. But that got me back into it, and I've been going full steam again ever since. In terms of favorite mech, I'm going to give you two. I'm going to give you my favorite optimized mech and my favorite non-optimized mech. So, favorite optimized mech is the Wraith, because if you don't like the Wraith, you know, in a tournament setting, you're missing an opportunity, man.
Yeah, jump pulse, right?
It's just too good. Get in there, knife fight somebody, get out.
Yeah.
My favorite non-optimized mech, which is just a horrible piece of under-armored garbage, but I love it anyway, despite all its stupid flaws, is the Cerberus, the good old MRV2. And that guy's just a whole lot of fun. I mean, 3055 was my first real tech readout, so those guys always kind of imprinted on me. And even though it's, you know, probably less good than the Gunslinger, which is why we don't have a plastic one yet, I still love that guy. Faction-wise, you know, I gotta rep the Davians, of course. Also got to rep the Raven Alliance. I love those guys. I'm so glad to see him back in Ilkhan's eyes only, like really finally getting developed as a faction. Looking forward to more of that. And also rep the Oregons, of course, but waiting for more news on them. As for the eggs, you ever heard of Gordon Ramsay eggs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I cook them, man. I cook them that way for the family, and they love them. My wife would eat those every day if she could.
That's too much work for me.
It's not too bad. It's just a lot of stirring.
Yeah, that's too much work. Just
He's a low input
I'm
egg man,
I'm
right?
I love eggs, but man, I'm low effort on the Eggos.
Hey, it's worth
Not
it
to be
every
confused
time.
with waffles.
Yeah. Well, David, I loved the show, the BattleTech show. Man, I loved that thing when I was a kid, and that really helped get me into the game as well. That cartoon, I thought it was I was totally surprised, but I watched a different cartoon called Exo Squad before that, and then I think Exo Squad came before BattleTech, and then I watched BattleTech, and man, that really got me into the game. And I also had like this phase where I didn't play too much, but yeah, with all the new stuff coming out, it's really been gung ho ever since. So
Trust
yeah,
me, man.
that's
I was
awesome.
right there with you on Exo Squad. I had all the toys and all the BattleTech toys. I still have some of the old alternate color scheme BattleTech toys, like the weird colored yellow and blue and black Bushwhacker and stuff like that. Gonna give them to my kids when they get old enough, and they're gonna destroy them instantly. And just like, oh, jeez.
Yeah, we still have some at my parents. Those are good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, great to have you guys on. And you guys are both. I don't think you mentioned it, but you're both from Arizona, so we're going to be talking a little bit about the campaign that you guys have been running down in Arizona, about some campaign stuff, and then about Arizona and the BattleTech community down there. Before we get there, though, let's hit our return and report segment. Any games played? Any fun games played recently, guys? Mike, I'll ask you to start us off if you've had anything, but let's go around the horn.
Any game or just
Well, BattleTech
specific?
related, maybe? I don't know.
There is a
Oh,
theme to the podcast, Mike.
Slightly.
wait a minute. What? There is? Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I get a weekly game in. They're all fun. I take something away from each game I play. Um, I like to say that BattleTech players are really opinionated, but at the end of the day, we just want to throw dice and talk about giant robots. Um, yeah, I mean, the game that comes to mind immediately is the last League game I played, and we'll touch on the League play that we have going on. Thank you, Hinterlands. Um, I had a Wraith and a Havoc up against a Direwolf. And thank goodness for a huge plot of trees that my opponent decided he just wanted to hang out in, which allowed me to jump in and jump out and whittle that monster down.
Yeah, that's a
So
fight. Wow.
it was horrifying because with the League play, we want to not get damaged. And, I have maybe 2,500 points in BV, and he's like 3,000 in one big SWAT. I'm like, okay, well, I guess my Havoc is dead. So I got really fortunate. He whiffed a lot of rolls that were not very hard. And I was able to focus fire on one torso, fortunately, and eventually it fell down and put itself into forced withdrawal. And I lived to fight again. It cost him a lot of money to put that back on the field.
I can imagine, yeah. I wish I had like a soundbite of the Brave Sir Robin ran away or something like that right now, but yeah.
Yeah, that's how I felt. Jumping in and out, and having to put some much lighter machines out there as bait. Um, be like, hey, pick one. I hope you don't kill it, kind of thing. And but it was a lot of fun. I talked to him afterwards about maybe how he could have improved the game, uh, moves that he could have done different. And he's a really good kid. His name's Rory. Um, but sometimes I don't know why he does what he does. I'll let Dave tell the story about the scorpion in the trees. So
Oh
I'll go ahead
God, man, you're giving me like
and
you're giving me the triggered warning right here, man. Good jeez. Very long story short on that. When we were doing a playthrough of the Twycross book, but we were doing it as an Alpha Strike playthrough, so it didn't take 100 million years.
Mm-hmm.
And Rory had a Scorpion. It was just one of the Twycross TMM mechs. Plants it in the woods just far enough so you can't see it. And like all the Twycross TMMs getting shot up, and Mike's over there. He's like, "Hey man, do you want to maybe like get in here and shoot some of those clan mechs?" And he's like, "No, I like where I moved." And then he goes to shoot, and he's like, "Oh, I'm too far in the woods." We're like, "Yeah, that's what we were talking about." So the next turn, we're like, "Hey, do you want to move that Scorpion and like maybe shoot some of these guys who are killing your whole command?" He's like, "Oh, I'll stay stationary." We're just like,
With a Scorpion, huh?
maybe you could just leave, you know? I don't know. Sometimes, man, you never know.
Yeah, individual decisions. Great. How about Mr. Mike the Viking? You get any games in or anything fun other than working on the home this month?
No, but I did bring some of the stuff inside. I last LVO, so last year, I picked up the BattleTech paint set, the speed paint set from the Catalyst booth, and the kiddo was in a painting mood, so I got it for him. So he did some painting this weekend,
Awesome.
or this week rather.
Yeah,
So the kiddo had some progress, you know.
it's hobby by proxy. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome. Step in the right direction, Mike.
yeah, you know.
Yeah. How about you, David? Any games that pop out to you? It sounds like you guys have rather routine games. So, what maybe a game that pops out in your mind?
Well, just the most recent one where I got to do something a little wacky. We were playing in one of our other campaigns, not one I run. A guy named Chris runs it. It was nice because I get a chance to play instead of GMing. And I got to unleash my new absolute monster of a unit, the Dragonfly. And when I threw up a defensive modifier of 8 on it, they were like, we're not going to try, man. Like, that's way too high. Everyone else was playing their clan mechs that were big and bad and like running around shooting PPCs and trying to be hardcore and actually having a really hard time of killing anything. And I'm just like, this is the objective. I'm done in 3 turns. I'm across 2 map sheets, 3 turns, not even touched. Boom, done. Now I'm going to go support these guys. And it was just like the build worked. And it was so nice to do something that the other mechs weren't doing. If you're like, how did he get a DMM of 8? It was a 4 from speed, a 3 from skilled evasion, and a 1 from ghost targeting. And if none of that makes any sense to you, boy, you're going to get blown away on the campaign section.
Some optional rules there? Is that, or some additional rules?
I'm also raging at the camo specs guys because I'm painting up a unit of Turkin Akeshik. And whoever decided that their color scheme's primary color was turquoise green, like, that's not a thing. Turquoise is blue, teal is green. It's got to be one of the two, and I'm just sitting here mixing paints like a mad scientist, trying to figure out something that'll actually work.
Is there an actual picture of it on the site that shows you kind of what they're looking for? Or?
There is, and several of them are different shades.
Oh no!
It doesn't tell you like which is the paint they use. They're just like, trial and error, man.
Yeah, that is frustrating.
I'll tell you, it worked fantastic though, because the work David does, we are always in awe. We get excited. He's all, check these out, guys! I did some new guys, and we're like, okay, So that's something that we always look forward to as well. So
that's cool. Being a non-painter that paints occasionally, I always look forward to other people that have some talent about it. So that is, I definitely can see myself doing the same. I got a couple hinterlands. So I've got 2 sons, and they all 3 of us, we started up a hinterlands campaign just in the house. It's been really fun. This is the first time that we've tried using the hinterland system, and I really like the simplicity and the ease at which it gets my boys like into a campaign kind of setting really quick. So that's been really fun. I just kind of run the op 4 and we started at the scale 1, which they were already after like moving through 3 tracks on the first contract. They were like, "Can we move up now? There's just not enough on the board." But other than that, we've really enjoyed it. So Hinterlands has been cool. Really appreciate that product out there. Other than that, that's been kind of the only games that I've gotten in. So just would that be 4 Hinterlands? I guess no. Let's see, 6 because they each ran 3 on a contract. So that'd have been really fun. So that's the return and report. We didn't have a con or anything that any of us, at least that Mike the Viking and I went to. Any big events near you guys down in Arizona that you guys went to?
Regrettably, none that I've seen. We don't have a ton of gaming conventions. Well, we do have a decent number of them, but they're not running the big time BattleTech stuff that we would really be drawn to. Usually it's a lot more introductory level, which feels kind of SEAL clubby a bit. If we like show up, we're like, what is this BattleTech? Oh, I've never heard of this. Massacre, see, that sounds fun. I'll try that. So try to not do that.
Yeah, I hear you.
You don't want to tell them about the Irby gun line with the Aries at that convention we did?
It's your story, man. Go for it.
Let's hear this.
You're the
Well,
Republic
I
of the
mean,
Spear guy, dude.
we were both there. I went to help our one of our Catalyst agents, um, help support him, and David showed up to play against him in the scenario that was put together. And so his name's Josh, and he goes, "Here, you can run the Aries, and here's his bodyguards. It's 4 Irbies, painted bright yellow. And the Aries looks fantastic. It's black with lightning all over it. And so one of the, for some reason, this guy decides, I'm going to park this archer up on top of this hill. The entire Republic force is behind a wall. Nobody can see anybody except this archer. And so yeah, that archer didn't survive to the end of the next round. And Dave told him, "What are you doing up there? You're going to get killed." "Oh, I'm fine." And that Ares
Spoiler
is so
alert, he was
slow.
not fine.
Yeah, no, he
Mistakes
wasn't
were
at
made.
all. But the funny thing is, the Irbies, keeping up with the Aries, and it was fun having those forming a gun line. You've got the Aries and then the two, because there was a lance of Irbies, and so there's 2 on one side and 2 on the other side, and they're just throwing down the little bits of pain that they can. But eventually, we did get clan forces, did breach the walls, and they ended up in the compound. And neat thing about the Aries is it blocks line of sight. So I could move those Irbies. So I had one pointing in each direction all around the Aries. So it was a fun little game. Unfortunately, we didn't get to bring it to end because I believe they were cleaning up. Convention was winding down.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember. Did we call it for the Republic, Dave?
I'm pretty sure we did, yeah, because Alaric Ward's mech got shot out from under him, so it was at least a moral victory for you guys.
the
But we
old
know
mobile
ultimately what
turret.
happened. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was neat to say, hey, all of this is shooting at that, and you get to roll all of the clickety clackety math rocks, and well, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But we do have pictures, and I'll post them later.
Cool.
Of the Aries with his little Irbies.
The old quantity is its own quality, right? Well, that's cool. Yeah. I know here in Colorado, we recently had Genghis Khan, which had quite a bit of BattleTech in it. I wasn't able to attend, and Mike is in Alaska now, so he was not able to attend. And I don't think Ben
No, that's a
went either.
drive.
It's a slight drive, yeah. But I did hear that there was plenty of BattleTech played. They had Brian Young in attendance, so he played a bit and chatted up with a bunch of the Colorado BattleTech guys. Quite a few games played, including, I believe there was some Battle Troops, which is like the infantry scale-ish part of BattleTech. I've never actually played it. Anyone here played it? But
Never touch it. That's some real like deep lore BattleTech stuff right there, man.
yeah, I hadn't
I've
heard it for a long time. So
I've played one game. I hated it. It went back in the box, and it's in a box right now. It's in its Battle Troops box, in a box at the bottom, with my older BattleTech collection stuff. The stuff that doesn't come out unless I'm looking for like an old TRO or like
yeah.
the old tech manual or something like that.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds like they're trying to like modernize some of the rules, is what I heard, and so I'm kind of interested to see where it goes. But I've never played it. I just thought it was interesting. They had a pretty wide kind of diversity of BattleTech events there at the con, so it was neat to hear that they were doing that. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's it for return and report. And I think actually we'll just jump on in. I know that our sponsor, Aries Games and Minis, fantastic place to get your, as some people call it, your BattleTech crack. So he's definitely had some of the new Kickstarter stuff in and out, and he keeps getting in new the new little force like stickers and stuff.
Yeah,
Do you ever
the
use any of those?
latest update on Discord was new to the store decals
Yeah.
from and restocks from Fighting Piranha Graphics.
Yeah. Now, do you guys, David and Michael, do you guys do decals on your units? I still have yet to use mine, but I have a whole bunch ready to of the little, I don't know what they are, the water decals
Water
or whatever.
slide decals, yeah.
Water slide, yeah, thank you.
y'all are lucky that if I have paint on them at all, my guys have they're this beautiful gray, you know. Yeah, I'm terrible about getting the painting done. Maybe someday I'll do the decals. I think they're super cool. Um, but I'll tell you who does.
It's
Take it
true,
away,
man.
David.
It's true. I do as part of the campaign we run. The characters will be encountering these units as they kind of progress through BattleTech history, and so I go out of my way to get the decals for each of those units. Like I just finished decaling the Sky Rangers because they're with the 17th Sky Rangers on Barcelona right now, and I couldn't get those from Ares. I had to order them from Fighting Piranha because they're not popular. So Ares, get some more, man. I'll give you my money.
There we
Though
go.
I did just pick up their big hexed city battle mat that sold out super fast
Oh, okay,
because
yeah.
that thing is super nice. So if they restock that, I encourage you to pick it up, especially if you got like 3D terrain and buildings. It's going to be a beautiful thing when that thing
Is
hits the
that the one
table.
that doesn't have like any buildings? It's just hexes.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I saw
it's
those,
like
and
six
I
by
I want to
four,
get
and
those. Yeah,
it's good.
yeah, that's cool, especially combined with like the Hex Tech and all the Thunderhead Studio stuff. Yeah, I need to get those. Maybe soon. We'll see. Yeah, so if you guys need some BattleTech stuff, please visit our sponsor, Aries Games and Minis. Fantastic stuff. Great prices. Derek is a wonder and a gentleman. So there you go. So that'll take us to our main medal, and our main medal today is just what we're going to talk about with these fine fellows. Is about some campaigns that they run down in Arizona, and a little bit about thoughts about campaigns and some opportunities that are out there now, especially with Hinterlands and others, and then just about the Arizona community. So David, I think I'll just let you start in and kind of describe maybe some of the campaign or campaigns that you guys run down there in your guys' group, and then Michael, if you want to pop in at any point, just let us know what you guys do and how you run it and what you think of it.
So the main campaign, the one that I run, kind of the one that got everyone talking about, maybe we should try BattleTech as a campaign play system as opposed to weekly XBV show up and shoot each other kind of situation. We started it in 3025 with the Oregon Reach campaign, basically recreating the BattleTech computer game, but with the players having a mercenary unit controlling a number of pilots and a number of mechs and fighting their way through the Aurigan Restoration. And the big things that we did there is we decided we wanted to play it at a very high level. So we were using a lot of optional rules. You know, we were using quirks, we were using SPAs and SCAs, we were using a bunch of stuff from TAC Ops, you name it. And we also were using the campaign operations rules that, not the chaos campaign stuff, but the very granular stuff. You know, every mech they purchased had a C-bill cost. Every part for every mech had a C-bill cost. Your mechs had a quality rating and a tech rating, and if your medium laser got damaged, well, that was a C-tech item, and it was this quality, so it took this rail to repair, and if it got damaged, that's 40,000 C-bills to replace. So finding one on the battlefield was very important, and they were skeptical at first. You know, we had to recruit some players, put together an initial company of mechs, and they were very skeptical because it sounds like a lot, but once. Well, I mean, it is a lot. I
was about to say it's not. It's got to be a lot, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, that thing's a second job. But once we got into it, it was the most fun any of us had ever had playing BattleTech, because it was a system that had consequences that really mattered. You know, if your Blackjack got hit by an airstrike and got its torso blown off, and they had to fix that, you're finding yourself going, where are we going to find a torso for this mech in the middle of nowhere in the friggin' periphery, like in the middle of a civil war? Yeah. What are we going to do? That costs a bunch of money. But so they played through it. We got to the end of the Aurigan Restoration. They have permanent pilots that were persistent and leveled up and skilled and so on and so forth, and could die permanently as well. So there were stakes to it, and they got to the end of it. Despite me having to fudge some rolls to not have Kamea Arano die to getting her mech's head shot off. And at the end of it, we said, do you want to keep doing this? And they said, yeah. So we started playing through BattleTech history, and there's surprisingly poor amounts of information about BattleTech history between 3025 and 3050. Which is good if you want to run a campaign and are willing to be narrative about it, but it's not good if you need it, really handed to you. So, but we ran them through it. We did the Forced Succession War. They were backing up the Steiners on Vega, which does actually have a decent amount of source material. We did the Andurian Succession Crisis, where they were backing up the Capellans and defending Grand Base from Andurian raiders. We did the Ronin Wars, where they were on Candace and got to meet their nemesis, the Insect Brigade. There's a fun story there. One of our players, Dave Pittman, does this great impression of their commander, because we always have these after-action reports where we'll have pictures of the various people talking to them and all that, giving them in-universe information about everything that's happened. And he had this really great high nasal voice where he'd be like, "Yeah, we're so skilled, I can't believe you losers couldn't catch up." And we just did it all. We did so many of these historical events, and we finally are just now getting to the clan invasion, the initial stages of it, which it required some adjustments, because at first it was too hard, which is probably historically accurate, but not real life fun. So we had to tone the clans down just a little bit. If you read the old source books for them, it'll tell you, oh, this is Jade Falcon Galaxy. They're elite, which for clans means 1-2 pilots. And when they're all 1-2 pilots with SPAs and SCAs, it's a little much. But so that campaign got people talking. I've had to limit it. Like an RPG group, I've had to limit it to a certain number of players. So we only have 6 players max as the player force. They're controlling somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 units each, be they mechs or support units. And they're controlling a stable of pilots that they level up and gain XP for and everything. And then I sometimes will have someone working with me to run the op for. Other times, like tomorrow, I got to do it alone. So I've had to get very good at being able to handle, 24 enemy units on the field in classic BattleTech, all doing their thing and getting it done in 4 hours. Yeah, I learned to move fast.
Yeah, it sounds like you were a man who loves spreadsheets from your description of the campaign.
I don't make the players do the spreadsheet part. That would be too punishing. But
Yeah.
once between every contract, we have to sit down and go, what are you buying?
Mm-hmm.
Who's doing this? What's doing that? And I just have this giant Google sheet that's been bloated over the course of about 4 years now of them leveling up from a company to a combined arms supported regiment.
Yeah.
It's a big Google sheet. It's like so many tabs and so many entries. It's nuts. And so we did that campaign. We had 6 people in it, and it kind of inspired some other people to do some campaigns of their own.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Mike, you want to talk about Falcon Wing, so I'm not the only guy talking. I don't want you to feel left out.
I don't know, man. I mean, you're so well spoken. But Falcon Wing. So we had mentioned Chris earlier. He decided, hey, you know what? I want to do clan invasion, but I want to do the clan side, because right now in our other campaign, we'll just call it. So the campaigns we have running is we have the Corsairs, and that is the campaign that David was talking about that we've been playing for 3.5, 4 years now. And then we have the Falcon Wing, and with that, we are a Jade Falcon unit. We are kind of the Khan's pets, where no one else seems to like us, and we're sent off to, go do this mission because no other unit is it's beneath all of these other units, and you guys just go do your thing. But we play that once a month. We each have a pilot, and we earn the way that Chris decided to handle. Well, what mechs do you have? What selections do you have? You earn honor, and with your honor, you earn certificates. And so many certificates will get you another mech. You can unlock the ability to come up with your own configuration for your OmniMech. Otherwise, if you don't have that Omni certification, you're stuck with, the standard Prime, A, B, C, whatever. And then you also earn experience so that you can upgrade your pilots in either gunnery piloting, and we are using special pilot abilities. And there's even a few special pilot abilities that we've created of our own. One of them is it Charlie Horse, that allows you to, is it re-roll a mask roll or improve your roll? I don't remember.
So we came up with that one, and that's something we've done as well to kind of customize the fit of some of these campaigns. We've come up with some of our own rules, and before you say you can't do that, that's not allowed, check out the latest, Legends pack with the bounty hunter in it. That SPA ain't in any book, so it's allowed. But Charlie Horse is a 1 to 4 point one we made, where each point of it lets you decrease your roll for a mask activation by 1, and then that's expended for that battle. So, like, if you needed to roll a 5 and you rolled a 4, you could spend one of those to decrease your target from 5 to 4, and you'd be like, oh, I made it. My mask doesn't fail. It's just because mask failures were extremely debilitating when you have one mech, and it's like, your mech got no legs. You're here till 10 o'clock, so just sit here and watch these guys play.
Chill out, yeah. That's cool. No, I really like that, yeah.
Something that's interesting about that as well is your pilots don't die per se, so a head hit won't kill you. You're defeated, but he is tracking wounds, so it will affect how soon you're basically out. You've either taken too many wounds, you're shipped off to somewhere else, and then you would just start with a new pilot. But the way it works out is the XP and the honor system that he's got. I think he's got it dialed in pretty well. You can level up quick enough where if you had to start over, you won't be, oh man, I've got this pilot that can't do anything. You're able to bring them back up to speed if you're playing every month relatively quickly. So
is that like something you guys run? Do you guys run like 1 week we run Corsairs, the next week we run Falcon Wing, and the next week it's something else? So it's like once a month type thing, or are you guys running these multiple times a month for the campaigns?
So the Corsair campaign we do every other Saturday. Falcon Wing is once a month. It's one Friday a month, and it is always a Friday that is not preceding a Corsair game. That way, David gets a chance to play as well. He's only able to get one game a week in. So we want to make sure that he's able to do the Falcon Wing thing.
Mm-hmm.
So generally, so maybe I'm getting a little ahead here because I know you want to talk about the Phoenix area, but there are weekly games Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday in the Valley here.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So,
And a lot of us in these campaigns, we're a little older as BattleTech players, sometimes lean. So we got, families, we got kids, we got spouses, and my wife, I love her. She's wonderful. She'll let me go out and do my gaming. But if I'm like, hey, I'm going to play every Friday and every Saturday, and you're watching the 3 young kids while I do it, it's going to be, nope, not happening. So we got to stagger them out. Yeah.
Well, how kind of accessible do you guys think campaigns like this are to other people? I know a lot of people. I know I've talked to a fair amount of people that have I really would love to be in a campaign, but when I look at campaign ops, I kind of get cross-eyed, and it seems like it's not written, well enough for me to just grab it and go. How do you guys feel as far as accessibility for this type of campaign for everyone?
Well, I'll say that the Corsairs campaign, which, like I told you, it's our higher level campaign, you might think it's not very accessible, but if you start it small enough by getting, everyone a chance to get their feet wet. When we started it, we had 4 players and running a company, 3 mechs each. And they didn't have to learn a whole lot of stuff. And as I was GMing it, I prevented them from having to learn stuff like the repair rules and all that. I was like, I'll handle it. I'll tell you how it works. You can tell me what you want, but I won't make you learn all those rules. And one of our guys, Pittman, who was Dave Pittman, he's that was, I believe, the first year he'd ever even played BattleTech, and we threw him in the deep end, and he learned it, and he has a blast about it. He's one of our big evangelists for it, but. It just requires you to put in the time and the effort and learn it. It's almost like painting a mech. The first time you paint it, it may not be that great, but if you put in some time and effort and practice it, eventually you're going to be able to do it no problem. Something like Falcon Wing, that's designed to be more beginner friendly. Hey, you won't perma die. You'll just get quote unquote wounded and get a little less XP. You're the clans, so you've got the seal clubbing power to go on these inner sphere guys and just go absolutely psycho on them, and there's not going to be much they can do with their, 4-5 pilot, 30-25 junked up mechs. That one's a little easier, and they could kind of get their feet wet without having to worry too much about it. But I honestly feel like sometimes we infantilize people a bit too much with these games, and if we just, if we trust them to learn it and trust them, to do the reading, just take a look at the campaign ops, try it with 1 mech, see how these roles work. Oh, now it makes sense. I think they'll pick it up. I don't think we have to gatekeep them from it and say, no, you have to grow up more to play this campaign. I think they can do it. Do
you think it would be better? What do you guys think as far as, I'm just thinking of campaign ops, and myself, I've read portions of it, but I've never just read straight through. Do you think it'd be better like set up like you're kind of describing, where there's like this section like learn these rules, and then after you've done that, move on to these rules, and then continue on where it gets more and more granular rather than just here's the book, learn it all type thing? What do you guys think?
I think
Go ahead, Mike.
kind of like kind of like BattleTech as a whole. You can kind of pick and choose. I think campaign ops is not that difficult to read through. It's scary because numbers, but I mean, it's battle math. We play charts, right? But um, because it can get so granular, I think that puts a lot of folks off. But like Falcon Wing, that is basically off the hip. Chris made up the pretty much the whole system on his own. We've got another guy doing chaos campaign, and they're not anyways near as granular as doing campaign ops. There's a guy who Jr. He started doing a little campaign with just him and a couple friends at his house, and he's just shooting from the hip, making scenarios up, and this is what your guys are doing, this is what you need to do. And I don't know if he's got it sounds like he's got perpetual pilots, and I don't know if permadeath is going to be a thing. He just started doing it. And so what I've found is, or what I've observed is that if you want to do a campaign, you can do whatever you want. And that's one of the great things about BattleTech is, here's the core rules, and then here's all these little things you can add on to it, which is part of what makes the game so fantastic, because you can really make it your own game. And sure, it's a scary book, but when you read through it I believe it makes sense. Um, and you get to choose how deep you want to go into it. Um, you know, David, if you want to add on to that.
Well, so when I look at the layout of campaign ops, what you have to understand about this book is it's giving you several different types of campaign systems. You could try linked scenarios, and that's just, hey, this type of thing happened. We had, this engagement, and it plays on into the next one. And if you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense, I get how to do that, then I can go to narrative campaigns. Okay, now there's this story going on in the background, and that's why certain things will happen. Maybe you have to destroy this ammo dump because you destroyed it, in the next mission, and these guys don't have much ammo. And, whereas if you didn't destroy it, maybe you guys are suffering ammo losses or something. I don't know. You go to map-based campaigns, try to capture all sorts of territory. You can do chaos campaigns, and each one of those kind of gives you a chance to taste a different flavor of what campaigns can be. There's a reason they put the extremely hardcore rules, which are the maintenance, salvage, repair, and customization rules in the back. And that's because that's probably the last place you want to get to, because it takes the most work. It's also actually it's an editing / book issue, I think, in my opinion, that those rules require you to then also grab the tech manual and potentially also interstellar operations and tactical operations, advanced unit and equipment, to figure out the answer to questions like, what the heck, tech level is this piece of equipment? What's the tech level of an improved heavy medium laser? Probably F, but how will that affect the repair roll? But the other thing is just do it at a smaller level. You don't need to do, I'm Wolf's Dragoons and I've got 5 regiments and this is our campaign on day 1. Start with a Lance MX. Throw them in the Chaos March. Throw them in the Periphery. And even if these rules are a bit more granular, you can see how it works and be like, okay, I like it this way. Like, maybe I like narrative campaigns. That's what I'm going to do. Or, maybe I like Chaos Campaign and I want to, tweak certain conditions so I can, add war chest points this way or that way. And it works. And, you have to do it to learn it. If you just read it, you will never really understand it until you actually see it on the board with the dice rolling. Then you'll be like, oh, I get what this is about. Okay.
Yeah. And I think I would love like more people to get over that hump of like, oh, I'd love to do a campaign that sounds so cool, but I can't, like, with the materials I've got, I can't do that because there's so much information and I can't handle it. I would love for people to just be like, okay, take it in bite-sized chunks, add on to what you already are doing. If you do if you're already doing pickup games, then add a link to it, like you were mentioning, David. Link to scenarios or something, and take it like that slowly. I'm gonna assume, and I think from what I know of, that everything about your guys' campaign seems to be classic BattleTech driven. Is that correct?
Not correct.
Not correct. Okay.
We have a mix of classic BattleTech, and then for the most, epic missions, we'll do Alpha Strike as well.
Okay.
And so we have a little bit of both, which was kind of hectic because the campaign rules for Alpha Strike are no longer in print. We had to find an old out of print book and adapt them. But
yeah, that's what I was wondering. Is because with classic, you can be like, okay, it lost an arm, you need to find a new one. In my mind, for Alpha Strike, you almost have to like zoom out and be like, okay, that arm equals a mech for Alpha Strike or something like that, to where it kind of still makes sense to have similar rules across them. But I don't know, how do you guys kind of balance that between classic and Alpha Strike there?
I'm going to let Mike talk about how Alpha Strike scares the pants off of him and the other campaign players in just a sec. But to answer the technical question, we had to look at the Alpha Strike construction rules, which would tell you 30 points of armor is one dot of armor on Alpha Strike, and it's 30 points in Classic. So I could be like, if your mech took 3 armor bips, then I'm going to use a dice roller to randomly generate this much armor damage on your mech. So we can then figure out how much it's going to cost to repair it and what rules you're going to need and that kind of thing, and vice versa. So that's where that out-of-print book comes in because those rules are all in there. It's the Alpha Strike Companion.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Michael, what do you want to say about this business here?
I hate every Alpha Strike game we do in the Corsairs campaign because we get savaged and something always dies. If we don't lose at least one personnel, we lose equipment. And it might sound silly. I'd rather lose some equipment than the personnel because we have some really good pilots. And even our vehicle crews, we have some very, very elite vehicle crews as well. And every time in Alpha Strike, it's a fun game, don't get me wrong, but every single time in campaign, something gets destroyed, usually multiple things. And so, because the game is so abstract, and because of a lot of the rules we use, special pilot abilities and things, they just don't translate into Alpha Strike. And again, every single time it feels like it goes sideways, but we've been really fortunate and we've been able to, I don't think we've lost an Alpha Strike game. We've had some really tough fights, but we've been able to pull it out, fortunately.
Yeah, I can imagine that, where you've invested so much into this, this pilot, that even just the mech that they have as well, and then you go into Alpha Strike and it's like, well, you get focus fired down, it's gone in one turn or something like that, and that could be a blow.
But the counterpoint is, when we play Alpha Strike in the campaign, it's for something epic that's happening. And we are almost always playing it at the battalion on battalion level. So there's a lot going on the map. And we also go out of our way to make sure we have good terrain, painted units on the table, music effects sometimes. I've got some other special effects I'm going to be bringing in for some of our later battles. And that's part of what also makes the campaign so good is, the players paint the mechs in the unit colors. The Corsairs do a very similar to Skull Squadron from Robotech / Macross scheme, the white with the yellow and black. And to see all that stuff on the table, to see the 3D buildings, to see all the stuff happening, it really drives the campaign home. Just to give you an example, this one we did classic, but we used all the 3D buildings and everything. at the beginning of the Candace campaign in the Ronin War, the conflict starts when a member of the Insect Brigade has like a seizure in his wasp and machine guns a bunch of protesters. Like that's the historical start of it from the Ronin Wars part of the Prush Wars book.
Okay.
And we had terrain of like a bunch of tiny little figures I found from like model railroading covered in Blood for the Blood God technical paint on pavement around this wasp, and it brought home the scene. And suddenly it was more than just a regular game of BattleTech. It was a war game with RPG elements, and it brought them into it.
That's really cool. And it sounds like it's usually kind of maybe a climax or, a really big moment of the campaign as well. So getting all those units out on the field at once is pretty cool. Very cool. What do you think, Mr. Mike the Viking? What do you think of this type of stuff?
I'm all for campaigns. I think over time, I mean, it depends on your local play group. Jumping straight into all of those optional rules, I commend you for it. I know I don't think my brain would be able to keep up with all of that fast. But I guess that's also where a really good GM with his Google spreadsheets comes in handy. But
I'm sure
it helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it. Have you guys incorporated any aerospace? Whether that's on the classic side or Alpha Strike side. I haven't messed with aerospace and classic aside from what I've played against in Mega Mech, and I still don't understand it. But I know aerospace and Alpha Strike is a lot easier to grasp. And I think it really makes, and I've said it before, it makes the fight three-dimensional. And it does a really good job of that.
You want to tackle this one, Michael?
Yeah.
I'll throw in the technical aspect of how it worked on the GM side after you give us the fun side of it.
Yeah. So, for Alpha Strike, took a little bit to get the hang of it. It is much easier in Alpha Strike. For Classic, definitely use the abstract rules. Playing the altitude or high altitude map on a separate map is just too much. I know there are some people that say, "Oh, I love that. It's not that hard," and maybe it's not. I don't want to do that. So use the radar map that's in the which book is it, David?
That's in the strategic operations book.
Strategic Ops. Changes the game, makes it so easy. There's a map. It's a big circular ring with multiple sections that go towards the center, and the actual ground map is the middle of the radar map. And so you can move one section at a time. You can work your way around, or you can work your way in towards the battlefield, where you can then enter the map and do your strafing, do your bombing. And most fighters can only move one section at a time. But if you're fast enough, and I don't remember what the thrust requirement is, you
Safe
can move
thrust
up
of
to
10.
2. Yeah. So Alpha Strike, much easier to do. If you like aerospace, adding it to Alpha Strike, very easy to do. For Classic, definitely use the abstract radar map. Changes the game, much easier to add it that way.
Do you guys often use aerospace, or is this just kind of a once in a while type thing?
So they have a dedicated aerospace group for each of their ground groups as well. And when we picked the units, which we started using 12 units for them, so each player could have 2, they could take a mech, they could take a tank, they could take an infantry platoon, they could take an aerospace fighter, whatever they felt like. And they've taken aerospace fighters. Bad guys have taken aerospace fighters too. Or sometimes they'll have, NPC air support thrown on there, stuff like that. We used Guardian fighter bombers a while back. And it's been very helpful for them. In their last mission, they had their aerospace fighters just, absolutely obliterate a Masakari because they just streaked in behind it and laid into it with everything they had. So it matters a lot, and it becomes a really interesting cat and mouse game when enemy aerospace is on the radar map, because then they're like maneuvering around for position to try and get the jump on each other during an attack run or that sort of thing. It does require reading some of the weird stuff in TAC Ops, but the radar map makes it very manageable. And it hasn't been so bad. The most important parts were learning how the lawn dart rules work and how criticals work.
Very interesting. Yeah, I've never really run across many campaigns that have jumped into the aerospace part. So that's cool to hear that it's worked successfully, especially with the radar map. So that sounds interesting.
I'm all about it.
We also use BSP aerospace in some of the other more beginner-friendly campaigns, like Falcon Wing and Chaos March campaign that our guy Brandon's running. So now that those came out in the Merc box, it is getting used a lot and giving people their intro to why having an aerospace unit or 7 on the board is useful.
Yeah. How do you guys handle artillery? Is artillery used a lot in your guys' campaigns?
Oh yeah. Pittman's actually former artillery, so he got into that pretty quick. They have some long toms that they use along with some ballistas, and we use the full artillery rules. I'm sure they'll get some Arrow 4 when they do, and it has been deadly because those crews have been training through 4 real life years and who knows how many game years to get extremely accurate. It's interesting when artillery actually hits the hex you expect it to hit. They don't really train you for that one. So they've used it to very good effect. It absolutely just obliterates elementals. I had to learn that one the hard way. Tell them about your little artillery protection phalanx formations, Mike. Those are a bane of mine as a GM.
All right. So we initially had one long tom that we purchased, and I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to buy a Zukov. We're going to buy 2 partisans. We're going to get a Maxim, and we're going to get anti-mech infantry. That's what supports the long tom. Then recently, in our last major round of purchases that we did, we decided to add a ballista to that list. So now we have a long tom and a ballista. They hang out together, along with we have decided to add a suburban mech to that. So we have our 2 artillery, and then if anything decides they're tired of being shelled, they have to deal with 2 partisans, a Zukov, a suburban mech, a Maxim, and some infantry. So they're a prickly target. If you're going to go after them, they're going to hurt you. So we're talking about the accuracy of the artillery. The long tom has the quirk accurate, and the crews were 2 gunners. We did lose 1 crew. They were a 2 gunner with oblique artilleryman, and they were very devastating on the field. We would spot, they would hit. Very rarely did it drift, and if it drifted, it would drift maybe 1 hex. So it was, yeah, artillery is, if you can use it, it is devastating, and as Pittman says, big guns never tire. And
Do you think it's a little bit overpowered, or is it still, you guys think it still fits kind of along with the rest of the stuff, with the mechs, with the vehicles, with the aerospace?
in normal play, artillery is devastating, but it's more of a crapshoot, because in normal pickup games or maybe weekly games, or you're not going to be using necessarily special abilities plus the quirks. And in what we've been doing, it's taken it to a whole nother level. I don't know. I'll let David speak on if he thinks it's too much. it is pretty wild though when we start lobbing rocks and they're hitting.
So I don't think it's overpowering from like a GM perspective, and the reason is when I tell them they get 12 units, if they're picking artillery units, that's less mechs, that's less vehicles, less aerospace, whatever on the field. It's 12 units period, not 12 units plus artillery plus this plus that. So if they want to pick it, I'll let them. And honestly, it's really not so bad. I mean, it's a few 5-point clusters. Just don't put all your guys like within one hex of each other, and you're probably going to be okay. And the bad guys. The other thing I tell them, one of my biggest rules as a GM, is anything you do, I can do too. So, the bad guys can have artillery. The bad guys can have aerospace and bomb you. The bad guys can do this. The bad guys can do that. They can have SPAs. You name it. So that just kind of prevents it from getting too out of hand. And it really hasn't been so bad. I would encourage more people to try artillery. I think it has a place in normal games, honestly, because it helps prevent the whole we're going to sit behind hills in the woods and shoot at each other for 10 turns kind of turret tech that you sometimes see.
Yeah, I've seen similar, artillery as well as aerospace. I think kind of makes for a more movementful. How can I say this? Movementful game. I know that Mike the Vikings talked about this before. That where you don't just have mechs lined up when you have aerospace because they can get a run down 3 or 4 targets all at the same time just because you're all lined up behind some terrain or something shooting, and so they're moving away from each other. They're more mobile. In that regard, I definitely like the possibility of using more artillery and more aerospace just to kind of mix it up a little bit, so you don't just have firing lines, which to me isn't as kind of I wouldn't say true to the game that I think of. It's more like mechs are running all over the place. There's lots of things happening instead of just everyone gets up on their perch and fires their PPCs until someone dies, and then you move on to the next one. So
yeah, I mean, I look at campaigns like this from like a militaristic standpoint. There are multiple assets in your inventory, and each has their place and each has their weakness. Mechs are great and all, but tanks still have a place. Artillery definitely still has a place. Your aerospace, your VTOLs, all of it is extremely important and very good at what it does. But yeah, I would say, especially if you've got some newer players, because there's a lot of newer players in BattleTech with the resurgence, that's stuff to add in over time. As if you're a GM putting something together or trying to plan and make something like this a thing, don't jump straight to it, because they also each have like their own rule sets, specifically with like aerospace and artillery. I remember back when we did that custom map order that John worked together for us when we was down in Colorado. I had my map made up with 1-inch grid squares on it, each with a coordinate, for the purpose of eventually having games or campaigns done. So like you'd put the terrain all over the place as you would. Obviously that's going to cover the grids, but with a laser line and having the coordinate number for that line on the map edge, you can get the coordinates. And if you build a map that's got some choke points, and if it's like a garrison, it's going to have that artillery pre-plotted to hit those choke points, and then so that would give it like a modifier to hit to make it easier because it's pre-plotted type thing. So then the mechs and everything else, you try to funnel the enemy through those choke points. Now you trigger the artillery and it's hitting the pre-planned target, and stuff like that. I just think that's super cool. Use artillery.
and the pre-planned choke points, not always a choke point. One of the things players like to do to me, because they know how I think, they have some tells. They can usually tell sometimes what I'm going to do. they'll have hexes designated like this really good heavy woods cover hex or that kind of thing. And one of our players, Jared, is extremely good at guessing where mechs are going to end up. He's just got a good sense for it. He's been playing so much Mega Mech, he knows. And so you'll have that move where you're like, oh man, I'm going to go in these heavy woods. My TMM's going to be like a 5. Nobody's going to shoot me. And then it's like 2 sniper rounds and a long tom round are landing there this turn. And so there becomes a little extra mini game of like trying to predict where this stuff's going to land and what you're going to do about it. But I would say to new players who are hearing this and saying, wow, that sounds really interesting. I didn't know all this stuff was in BattleTech. Start slow. We didn't play the first game with aerospace, artillery, vehicles, infantry, and all these things in it all at once. We gradually added this stuff in and got people used to it over time. And we didn't even have the tools you guys have now with, BSP aerospace or, battlefield support vehicles that follow simpler rules like in the Mercs box set. So I would say if this sounds interesting, take it slowly, one thing at a time, maybe just one unit at a time, one aerospace fighter, one. And if you like it, build on it that way. Don't go whole hog your very first game, or you're going to spend 3 of the 4 hours that you play looking up rules.
I agree with that 100%.
What would be kind of some of the first things that you would add on to that most people would consider optional? Like where's that first step? Do you guys feel?
Do you want to tackle this one, Mike, or do you want me to?
I'm not sure. So when we started as a group, it was back in 2021. Originally, I was fairly restrictive on what could be brought. It was mechs only for a long time. We had a lot of new players. We played a lot of intro tech stuff, a lot of 3025. And then we slowly started adding things. We still don't do artillery and aerospace very often, but it's not always off the table. It's one of those things where if we allow it, you better have an idea how it works, because I'm not going to be jumping between 6 tables explaining everything multiple times. But I know, much to David's chagrin, we maybe could have stepped into things a little quicker than what I rolled out originally. But we had a ton of new players, and so we were just very slow in the introduction. And I think the one optional rule that we started out with immediately was floating crits. That just off the bat, floating crits. So, David?
So besides like the sort of the more run-of-the-mill optional rules, floating crits, enhanced flamers, those kind of things, stuff that's almost part of the full rule set, but technically not. The first thing I would add, if I was saying I want to get into more advanced play, would be mech quirks, because they matter a lot in a campaign. And they really do change the feel of some mechs quite a bit. When you've got a Vulcan and you're like, this mech is garbage. But then it's like, well, hold on. This is our 3025 Vulcan that's got 4 medium lasers on it, because that's the 5T, I think. And it's got narrow low profile. Narrow low profile is an absolute god tier rule. If your mech has that, you are going to do incredibly well in the campaign. If you don't know what it is, it's a rule where if they hit you by the exact number they need to hit you, or by 1 higher, they do a glancing hit, so you take half damage from it. You'll have other mechs with things like Battle Fists, so they're better at punching. And then you'll have campaign-related stuff like your mech is rugged, so you have to repair it less often, do less maintenance, or it's easy to maintain, so it's easier to fix. That's probably the first one I would add, just so you can see what a different feel it gives you, because that'll make you try some mechs and some other things that you might not have considered when you see how much that one simple rule changes how they play on the tabletop.
Do you guys use both the positive and the negative quirks?
You bet we do.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
we do.
I was about to say, if you're going to use one, you got to use both to really get the feel of the unit, right?
Yeah, that Centurion with his non-standard parts knows all about that.
It's awesome. Have you used welcoming Ben to the show? Ben, have you used quirks before?
Hey. Yes, I have. And the first quirk I ended up with was the no torso twist, which threw me for a loop. So, yeah, I think you're in the right ballpark with easing into some of the more uh, different rules that are out there. Quirks is a great way to go because it's already pre-built. Every mech has something, you know, and before you start breaking up in tac ops and looking at, new terrain styles and things like that, I think quirks is a really good option to ease people into some of the new stuff besides just vanilla BattleTech.
Yeah, it's cool. I have not used quirks very much, but I like the idea, especially in a campaign, of using them because it increases that kind of in-universe flavor, which I think is what campaigns are all about. Of your guys' campaigns, especially the let me remember here, the Corsairs. Which one has kind of been your favorite? Which one have you guys liked the best, and why?
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question.
So it sounds like you guys have done different kind of like portions of the BattleTech lore. Like you did one, like the Ronin Wars, right? And then you moved on to a different part, and you moved on. Was it all just the same units that you took, or did you change each time and restart each time you kind of jump to a different piece of the BattleTech universe?
So we started off with our 12 mechs, and as we moved along, we took different contracts. So we have a few machines that we started with, and we still have them in our current era. And we've kind of just brought stuff along, and as new equipment becomes available, new chassis become available, we're like, hey, we kind of like that. Let's go ahead and pick one up. So I mean,
That's really cool.
yeah, we started with 12, and I think we're up to 119, something like that. And we decided, oh, let's pick up some vehicles, and now I think we have something in the neighborhood of 70 different vehicles. And we have, I think, 16 or 18 aerospace fighters. We have five jump ships, 12 drop ships. We've grown from having no drop ship to, hey, we have a drop ship, guys. Just 12 pilots and 12 mechs to just we've really exploded. So it's not each contract is a new pick new equipment, pick new pilots. We find out what the mission is. We then make a decision. Okay, this Lance is going to take part, and we're going to bring 2 vehicles, and they're not going to be available necessarily the next mission because they're off doing, the last game we played. Sometimes they'll be available, but the pilots will start and the crews will start fatiguing, and once that's one of the optional rules that's also in campaign ops. The pilots will start suffering fatigue, but you have to have, I think, 4 points of fatigue before that starts actually affecting your pilot.
Spot on. Yep, that's where you start taking gunnery penalties.
Mm-hmm. So
it's almost like it's a military campaign or something.
It is. Yeah, it is. We've gone all over the inner sphere. Well, I shouldn't say all over, but from one end to the other, because we were helping train the new Death Commandos, or what is it? They were being reconstituted, and then we were all the way up the where was it? Anywhere? Is that where we were?
That's the one. That's the one you just did before this current one on Barcelona. Yeah. right at the
Yeah.
beginning of the clan invasion.
So our unit right now is actually split over 3 planets. So we have 3 different theaters that we're operating in, and we're wrapping up Theater 2. The wrap up is tomorrow, is that correct?
That's the plan, man. Final battle on Barcelona. Don't read the Jade Falcon source book. Don't read
Wait,
it.
what? Yeah, this I don't have many of the source books of all the things I've picked up over the years. I didn't really have interest in a lot of the source books. I just wanted to, get the mechs and get them on the board and have them shoot each other up. And now that we've done a lot of campaign stuff, I'm definitely interested in the source books now, going back and picking some of that stuff up. So I don't even have that source book, but it's exciting either way. Even if I had read it, whatever you're going to come up with, I know is going to be fantastic, and I'm looking forward to it.
And I'll
So does that
say,
answer your question?
Yeah, it's perfect. I just kind of getting the flow of how you guys, move on from one place to the next, and hearing about I mean, like you're saying you're split over 3 theaters, or all at once, is really reminiscent of a lot of the fiction in the BattleTech universe. So I think that is just super cool, where you're in a way replicating all these. I mean, like the Great Death Legion or the Dragoons, right? I mean, it was similar kind of things that they're doing, and you guys are doing it on the table as well as kind of in between the table as well. So super cool. David, you were going to say something?
my favorite track that I've had them run was right at the end of the Fourth Succession War. Takashi Kurita just declared death to mercenaries. And they got this distress call as they were leaving their operational area. Their contract with Steiner had just ended, from this Merc unit that said, "We're stuck on this planet. We were a Merc unit fighting for Kurita. They're declaring death to mercenaries. If anyone can get us out of this, we'll make it worth your while." And the catch was they could jump their one dropship in, just a Leopard, to try and reinforce these guys and get them out. And so they had to. It was very different from everything else, where they'd been working at generally a company to multiple company level, because they had one lance, the parts you can fit on a Leopard, which is like 30 tons, and that's it. That's all they had. And they had to go down there and rescue these guys. And they did it. They fought the 9th Pest Regulars, which was not too hard because they were a green unit. But they couldn't, sub new mechs in. As mechs got damaged, as pilots got hurt, they were damaged. They were hurt, and that's all there was. One of the pilots ended up taking 4 wounds in a mission. That was Tom's character, Jack Daniels, and you're stuck at 4 wounds. You better hope you don't take another head hit the next mission, or you're going to be rolling 11 plus to not get knocked out. And if you fall, you're dead, homie, and there's no coming back. And they pulled it off, and eventually, after pulling it off, the mercenaries had their fleet assets jump in, which is what they were trying to delay long enough to have happen. And they captured a Combine jump ship, and they said, "You guys saved our bacon. This is your first jump ship you own. We are giving it to you to thank you for saving us and our dependents from the Draconis Combine. If we can ever help you in the future, we will." And one thing I always do in this campaign, I tie stuff that happened previously to stuff that will happen later. They're going to see those guys again. And that's part of what also helps the narrative is they'll remember, we did this mission, it was hard, we met these guys, and then later on they're going to be like, "Oh my god, it's the same guys, they're here." And that's why I really liked that mission, but also just because of how challenging it was to not be able to sub mechs and pilots out.
That
Yeah.
was a lot of fun. You know, and yes, everything is tied together. It is one living story. Um, we even have little banters out of game sometimes, as far as the storytelling. You can still have some RPG on during the game. A little radio chatter. Because that's one thing I hear people bring up too is, oh, well, what about role playing? And sure, you can look at the different RPG systems that BattleTech has had over the years, but there's nothing stopping you from RPing while you're playing the game. And it makes for so much fun. Our last Corsair game, one of the clan pilots didn't like the order he was given, And so on the field, challenge his commander to a duel. And so, things like that, it really makes the game next level when instead of, oh, I just have this piece that I'm moving on the board, treat it like a person. You can do your RP. Sometimes if you decide your pilot is kind of schizo and for no apparent reason starts wandering off in some other direction, do it. You know. Um, so yeah, it's been fantastic. I recommend campaign play to anyone. You don't have to get down into the weeds with the campaign ops. You can just shoot from the hip. Because of what we've been doing, and we have several campaigns going on, more people are wanting to get on that campaign bandwagon and do their own thing. And that's okay. You can shoot from the hip and you find out what works and what doesn't work. And what David's put together for us has been absolutely phenomenal. And we've been using the source books that are out there, the rule books that are available, and it's been the most fun playing BattleTech than I've ever had in all my years of playing.
Well, that is awesome. Yeah, it's a real testament. Props to you, David, for being a good GM. I think because it definitely sounds like that helps. But I think people can do this on a more regular basis. You add in a little bit here and there, and it becomes more campaigny. I really like what you said, Mike, about do the RP part when you want to, instead of only keeping it what's on the record sheet, right? Or it's just blips on that I'm marking off a unit or something like that. I really like that idea. A little bit of a switch. I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts, since you guys have run these campaigns and they definitely seem quite involved in some cases. What are your guys' thoughts on some campaign systems that are coming out, specifically hinterlands, that have recently been released? And have you guys looked at those? Have you played with them? It sounds like you may have. What are your guys' thoughts on hinterlands?
So when we started playing as a group, David wanted to do a league, and that was something that was looked at early on, and he came up with some rules, and unfortunately it just didn't launch. But when Hinterlands came out and we looked through Hinterlands, we started a league, a couple weeks after the book came out.
It was quick, man.
It was real quick. And David's put together an amazing website where you can do your reporting. He's got a back end there that where you sign up, and when you do your reporting, it helps him do the book work on the back end, and you don't have to do that. But Hinterlands, I think, is one of the best things that has happened to BattleTech since Gator.
I love Hinterlands. It's a wonderful book. I can't wait for Draconis Reach next. But it's it does require some record keeping. I think the new record keeping system in Mercenaries makes that pretty doable. I mean, you're managing generally at a scale 1-2 mechs at a time, 3,000 BV. It's very doable. And if you haven't read it already, there is rules for league play in Hinterlands, which is what Mike's talking about, where essentially you're using the random contract generation in the back of the book to create contracts that everyone in the league plays. So once a month we have a league game that uses those Hinterland rules to make, okay, like our next one's going to be mission 3 of this garrison duty contract. So we've got to roll up the scenario to see which one it is. And what really made it next level for us was we're not just running this in one store. We've got 2 stores running it now, and you could take your league force from one store to the other because of that book, because of the way the rules work. It's cross-compatible wherever you go, and you could show up in the other store and be like, hey, I've got a scale 1 force. We know what the mission is this week. It's this. Let's play some BattleTech. I'm here today instead of at the other store.
Yeah, I
And I'm
really like
hoping,
that standardization, right? Where you can go wherever you want. Yeah.
and I'm hoping more stores pick it up. I'm not going to force them. I'm very much a if you build it, they will come, and not a do this or else kind of guy. But very excited for it. I just wish we'd had time to do some of the narrative stuff in Hinterlands because we haven't had a chance yet. Because that's but we have another guy, Josh, that demo agent I mentioned or Mike mentioned, who is running a narrative version of it, and he loves it too. So
Very cool. What are your thoughts on Hinterlands, man?
I mean, I have the book. I kind of read through it. I haven't really done a line by line yet with it, but there's a local group to me that has been running a Hinterlands campaign since the book came out. And in my self-appointed capacity as like a roving ambassador here, it's interesting because I've been to about 4 different stores. 3 of them are all running Hinterlands campaigns with completely separate groups that don't even know about each other. And I was doing some work travel down to Mexico at the beginning of February, and I visited like 4 different stores, and 2 of them are running Hinterlands campaigns. So it's definitely one of those things where people are really diving into the campaign aspect of Hinterlands and running the missions and building their forces. So it's really awesome to see. And if those stores happen to get together and run a league or whatnot, it's one of those things that it's very doable to do with Hinterlands. So
Yeah, that's very cool. I was just thinking, maybe even Hinterlands could be for some people a segue into these more complex or deeper campaigns that like the Corsair one that you guys have been running, where it kind of gets you into that flow of tracking things in between scenarios and having to, in a way, pay for different things like reloading and repairing and things like that. What do you
you're
guys see
absolutely
that?
right.
Yeah,
It,
yeah,
it's very much a gateway drug because it's really not too bad in terms of tracking things. That they've made it very easy to do. Look at this chart. What does your mech weigh? Okay, that's how much it's going to cost to fix your mech, as opposed to like you need to find this tonnage lower arm actuator and roll this number to get it. So it's very good intro level stuff to that, and it's a great setting. I love what they've done with Tamar Rising. I love what they've done with Hinterlands. And it will hopefully get people thinking about how a persistent unit can be more interesting because you don't just take your mech and run it up the middle and if it dies, oh well. Instead, they have permadeath in that Hinterlands campaign. You put your SPs into a guy and he dies, you're out those SPs. And it creates a very different play experience that also is more, in my mind, interesting because you have this character you care about and the things they do become stories you tell with your friends after game over drinks. And that gets you thinking about, man, what if we were doing this instead of, a scale 2 force with Formex? What if we were doing like a whole company? Or what if we were doing a whole battalion? Or what if we were doing it in a different place? It's a gateway drug.
yeah. That's a great description. I really like it. Very cool that you guys are running a league there. Sounds like another store down there. That's a great segue to what's the Arizona BattleTech community like? Are there lots of stores? It sounds like you guys. I mean, you guys have a pretty good weekly games. That's pretty cool and intense and awesome. Tell us about the Arizona community.
This is definitely a Mike one because he's the people person ambassador of us.
Ah, I don't know about that, but thank you. Yeah. So we have probably maybe 8 stores. We're pretty blessed in the market we have that there's quite a number of stores. Um,
And this is in the Phoenix area, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, all throughout the valley here, there's There's a number of stores. I don't remember if we were talking about it beforehand, but there are games that you can drop into on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, sometimes Saturdays, and Sundays. So, you've got for guaranteed 4 days out of the week that you can go and play BattleTech. And we have discords, several different discords, one for each store, and we all post, this is what the week's game is, and store A may be different than store B, but if you're part of that discord, you know what that store is planning to do. So you can drop in there. You say, "Oh, that sounds really interesting. They're playing this era and they're doing this thing, or here's the scenario." And we've had people drive from Tempe to Goodyear, which is a good distance, at least 30 miles, just to play in a game that somebody else is doing. Um, and part of that is go to the other store, meet the people, tell them that, hey, we play over here. FaceTime is so important, and I don't mean the app. I mean getting in someone's face and being like, hi, I also play BattleTech. And really get to know the community. And it's important that we invite each other out. And, one thing I wanted to do before the store that we started playing at, where our group started, unfortunately, that store closed. What I wanted to do ultimately is have store invasions where, hey, you know what, we're going to pack up in this night instead of doing our normal game, or if we'll have our normal game, but we're all going to go to this other store on their night, and we're going to go and swarm their store and play them. That never really came to fruition. I think maybe that's something we can try and do. We were a little lost for a while. We've got a new venue now, but unfortunately they don't seem to support us very well, which is sad. But we've been able to grow the community there, get some new players. We're just trying to get the store to carry product. Because it's hard to keep people excited if they can't buy the stuff. Which, you had mentioned Aries earlier. They're fantastic. If I want a medal, that's where I go. Or if I can't find something locally, because I always try and buy local. If I can't find it locally, and if Aries has it, I purchase it from them. But again, if you want your community to grow, you have to go and talk to people. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll go to a store, and if it's a new store, if it's a store I haven't been to, if they're playing BattleTech, I'll just walk up and watch and kind of feel the group out. Because ideally, if we're playing a game and somebody walks up and they just start staring at what we're doing, I will greet them, and then I will go back to the game, give it a minute or two, and then I will engage them. I know that's difficult for some people, but stepping out of that comfort zone really helps the game grow, and it makes someone feel invited, even if BattleTech might not be something that they're ultimately interested in. Let them know, hey, we're here, we're welcoming, you can be part of us. Ask questions, and just engage. And so a lot of times I'll go to a store and I'll just walk up and I'll observe, and hopefully I will get engagement. But if not, I'll give it a few minutes and then I'll start talking to the other players. But if you want it to grow and you want it to grow in your area, go to other stores, visit other stores. And like I said, we're blessed and kind of spoiled because we have, I think, about 8 stores in our area that are active in BattleTech. and some of those store nights overlap. So, if you wanted to go, as I said earlier, everybody posts what they're doing. You might want to go to your local store, the store closest to you that you might play at the most often, or across the valley. Wow, what they're doing is amazing. And we're also spoiled in that we have 3 demo agents.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard that some areas they really struggle to is as far as what they have in the way of local game stores. But support your stores, man. Go to the store. One of the things that really kicked it off for us is Facebook. There was a Phoenix Facebook group, and when Dungeon Gaming Center, which was the store that closed, unfortunately, when we started there, we posted on Facebook, and people came out of the woodwork like, "Oh my gosh, BattleTech!" And it just took off from there. But yeah, if you want the game to grow, talk to people. Just say hi. Be like,
Yeah,
"Hey, this is
I love
BattleTech.
that
If you got..."
idea of storming the store. That's a pretty fun one.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So, David, do you have any
Oh yeah, I
things
got
to add to that?
two things here. Number one, we just had a new store open in North Phoenix called Gamers Guild North Phoenix, which is supposedly the biggest gaming store west of the Mississippi. And having been there, I believe that. It is huge. And it's got a built-in restaurant. You can just sit at your table, scan stuff, order drinks and food to come out to you. It's got all the product, and it's all, there as well. So you can be like, oh, the Davian Force pack that just came out, boom, there it is. And it's got enough tables that you can get your play on and have a really good time. It's a really good welcoming store. And I'm very glad that we have things like that in our metro area. So it's not like the game store is a place that is smaller than my bedroom with like 2 people in it and one of them's heard of BattleTech. It gives us a whole lot we can draw on. And the other thing is, one thing I see a lot when I'm looking at people talking about BattleTech is they'll be like, especially on like BattleTech's Reddit, oh, I live in place X, there's nobody out here, all the guys near me play nothing but Succession Wars, and they all have their own house rules that they're teaching me to play, which are all wrong, by the way. And I go, man, if you could get that pollination from other groups and learn like, oh, maybe you're actually going to like the Jihad era better. Oh, actually these rules work this way. You could use that to build a really competitive list, that kind of thing. That's one thing we're really lucky to have here is that cross-pollination of ideas. So it's not just like, BattleTech is played this way. These are the people who play it. This is the night and the time they play it. If you don't like that, you can't play BattleTech. Instead, we have so many people who have gone and built out a community, and Mike doesn't take enough credit, but he's a huge community builder. That really gets more people into the game, but also gives people a chance to play the game they want to play and to have the variety to play the game they want to play instead of playing the game that there is or else not playing.
Yeah, that is. I mean, it sounds like you guys are pretty blessed where you're at, really, with a lot of resources, but also a lot of great players, and a lot of great players that I think are that do have that kind of pollination where they've seen, like, for instance, what we've discussed tonight, like the campaign. So they see something that's cool that works well, and they're like, oh, would love to also do a similar thing. Maybe in some ways not as complex or whatnot, but still something like it because it is awesome. And I do want to play BattleTech, and you've got lots of stores. I mean, a store where I could sit and be like, okay, bring me my food because I don't want to leave my dice throwing seat. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, it sounds really cool. Do you guys have like a majority kind of classic BattleTech, majority Alpha Strike, majority something else, or how do you guys feel like the community kind of sways?
I would say it's majority classic, actually. I can think of, they play Alpha Strike. Don't get me wrong; it's like not like nobody ever plays Alpha Strike in the Valley, but there's definitely more classic games being played.
I would agree with that. There are so one thing that we do at our venue, we were doing, we've kind of gotten out of it, is that the last Friday of every month is Alpha Strike. Whatever we're doing, the last Friday, or at least it was, we started doing some weird things, mixing it up, but uh, it was every last Friday, Alpha Strike. So if you just wanted Alpha Strike, you knew when to show up. There's a store in the area, Old World Games. They close at 8 on Thursdays. So Thursday from 6 to 8 is Alpha Strike. You can get a game in that period of time. And then they do their classic on Sundays where you have more time. But yeah, I think overall, and then there's Funkatronic Rex. They kind of do their own thing, which isn't a bad thing. But they play Alpha Strike on the hexes, which I think is fantastic because there's no wiggle room whether or not you're in range or not. But they seem to play with some of their own rules, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's harder for somebody to drop into that community, unfortunately. But I agree with David. It is primarily classic, but it's not hard to find an Alpha Strike game. Again, with all of our Discords, you can certainly ping and be like, hey, I have who wants to get a game in, and people set up games outside of the scheduled nights. And that's the great thing. Again, it comes down to communication. Go to other stores, get into their Discords, talk BattleTech, and people will come. If you have that excitement, people will come.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear that the community is. I mean, it just sounds like the community is excited, where it's not like you're like having to drag people to go play BattleTech. They just are. I want to, and I'm trying to find games to play, which is a fantastic feeling to have in a community. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to talk about as far as campaigns or Arizona community or just kind of community building in general? Anything else as we kind of close out our main medal?
I think just the big thing I would say is I'm hopeful that with the sort of BattleTech renaissance that's been going on for a while now, that we see more and more stuff from Catalyst promoting this. We've got a lot of good books, like the last 4 setting books. There's a wealth of stuff in there that you could use for a campaign, but I'm also excited that they've said, we're going to do more Brush Wars books. Great, those are wonderful for dipping your toes into campaign play, because you don't have to get some, Battle Force scale campaign going on. You could fight a brush war and have it be a short little thing. I'm excited for the smaller scale of Ill Clan, where you can have units like a lance or a company that matter in places like the hinterlands. That can encourage people to do campaign play there and not just think, oh, it's got to be a larger unit. I'm hoping they give us some new aerospace rules to make it a little less intimidating for people, so people are more inclined to dip their toes in there. And I'm hoping they give us more of these force building rules. I'm liking some of the stuff I saw in the Davian and Karita force manuals about how to force build sort of ad hoc. And people can do that to get some of the campaign flavor by saying, okay, these were the kind of mechs Davian used in late clan invasion. So I'm not going to worry about setting a C-build budget and building a house military unit to operate on campaign rules, but I am going to make a unit for a campaign that's flavored appropriately, using these units that this list tells me is what they would have in this kind of lance and that kind of lance and this sort of thing. All those things can enhance your game of BattleTech so much, because if you play BattleTech, you will eventually get tired of this is the BV, kill each other. You're going to want to add objectives, all these little things, and then the campaign is the next step, because when it matters from mission to mission, it just raises the stakes that much more. And I guess my closing thoughts on campaigns would be, we have so many good stories that the players in this campaign can tell about, on this date, this thing happened and it was totally wild. Oh my gosh, on this day, this pilot finally died and this is how he died and it was such a big deal. On this other day, we finally got our revenge on these bad guys and we took them down a peg and they left with their tail between their legs and we finally, made it happen. And those memories become part of a shared bond that a gaming group has that are just very impactful and create as much of a sense of community as reaching out to new players and bringing them into the fold. They create the history that your out-of-character gaming group references, and they become part of your culture. And it makes for a stronger culture between the players, sort of bonds of brotherhood as players in that campaign overall. So that's perhaps my strongest endorsement of it. And, to not delve too personal, the people in our campaign, because of those shared bonds of brotherhood, look out for each other. We've had people who have ended up in the hospital, myself included, and the campaign members go and visit them. We check in on each other, we care about each other. And if we didn't have those shared bonds and those shared memories and those moments that we could look back on and smile about the great time we were having, we might not have that sense of fellowship and community that we do and that we're so lucky to have.
Very, very cool thoughts. Thank you, David. Michael, any closing thoughts on this stuff?
I can't really add much to that. I mean, that was so well said. All of that can start with a hello, a Facebook post, or a Discord post. That's all I can really add to that. And our campaign group, we have become a circle, and we do look out for each other. And you can get all that with a simple hello or a post.
Very cool. It all, whether it be the campaign or the community, it all starts simple like that. Yeah, for sure. Ben or other Mike, any thoughts on this stuff?
Nothing that was already really said. I mean, the Colorado community started out as a Facebook group. There was the Colorado one, which was essentially just the Denver area, and then there was a Colorado Springs Facebook group, and then we migrated the majority over to Discord, and then it started as a Colorado Springs BattleTech Discord server, and then we just merged it up into a statewide BattleTech Discord server. How many people are even in that now? I haven't looked in a while.
Mucho.
Yeah. It's looking like 574
There you
in
go.
the Colorado BattleTech Discord server. It only takes a couple people, or just one person with a drive, to start building a community. Great shit.
I'll just walk up to people and say, "Have you heard of our Lord and Savior BattleTech?"
And then Jerome Blake, right?
Yes, may the peace of Blake be upon you.
Yeah.
How about you, Ben?
No, I mean these guys hit it right on top of the head, man. I mean that's what you got to do. You got to get out there, and I've said it before, on the podcast that if you want to build a community, you've got to get out there and make the effort to do it. Because if you don't have one, the only person stopping you is you from building that community. So talk to people face to face. Pressure them. Blackmail them. Whatever you got to do.
Yeah. Okay. Usually you don't have to go that far.
Just tell them
Yeah,
exactly. You're gonna sign this Star League charter, man. Like, come on.
Flying with drinks. That's what I do.
That's
then their
right.
parents will upset. You sent my 10-year-old home drunk? No, I did not do that. I'm just messing with you.
We're here to liberate you. Please don't resist.
One of us.
Exactly.
One of us. Yeah, great thoughts, guys. Great thoughts all around. With that, I think we'll finish up our main medal for the episode and move on to the next segment. So for the next segment, we have the drink of the month. And standing, Ben's here, but we've elected to have a stand-in master mixer here, and that's going to be David. So David, what are you trying to ply people with?
Hey all, this is Ben here, your BattleTech Master of Spirits. Get your mixers, liquors, shakers, stirrers, and strainers ready as we cover this month's BattleTech Drink of the Month.
Well, since we're from Arizona and have that border down south, this is going to be a little riff on a tequila sunrise. This is the Arano Sunrise, out of The Art of Food, which some of you may have got with your Kickstarter recently. The way we make this drink, we're going to need an ounce of tequila, 4 ounces of orange juice. You're going to need some grenadine to coat your glass, and you're going to need some ice. You're going to start by prepping your glass. Get some grenadine, cover the bottom. It's got to be about deep enough to cover your fingertip. You're looking at about 1 millimeter if you want to be really strange and break out a ruler to measure this. In a separate cup or cocktail mixer, mix that orange juice and tequila together. And then add ice to your glass. Slowly pour that orange juice and tequila mixture over a broad spoon into the glass. Rotate that ice a bit in the cup. The grenadine's going to float to the top. It's going to create a sunrise effect. And if you're feeling a little extra, garnish it with some citrus fruit and cherries. If you find yourself at Gamers Guild North Phoenix, they will make that drink for you if you show them the art of cooking, or the art of food rather, because I can tell you this because I've done it. So something fun to bring to your next game and drink one for the reach.
And how is this drink, David? How does it go down?
Honestly, it went down smooth. I enjoyed it immensely. I would have drank too many, but I had to drive home, so I had to keep it responsible.
It's very easy to drink tequila sunrises. They are delicious.
That one's not gonna mess you up too hard, and you can do a couple of them for sure.
What think you,
I also
Ben?
just really love orange juice.
I mean, I've had a few of those, but, as with all drinks,
It
I
needs
prefer to move
bourbon.
everything else and create bourbon.
The only thing missing, right?
That's right. So, good job.
You have to close it out,
Everybody's stealing my drinks nowadays.
And that's your drink of the month.
Woo!
Awesome. Great one, guys. Okay, next is our upcoming action. Ben, do you want to run through the one for Metal Ed, and then I'll talk about the other one?
Yeah, he's got some work to do. He just showed up late, so we're going to make him work a little.
I know. I got to catch up now. So, for those of you that are our northern partners, coming at you on June 14th is what's called SOBSCon, Southern Ontario BattleTech Society Convention-ish. It's going to be in Burlington, wherever that is in Canada, probably like north of
Probably
the US
in
somewhere.
Ontario somewhere.
I think it's in Ontario.
Like whatever that central, what they have, provinces, I think. Yeah. So it's in Burlington on June 14th. They've got a classic tournament going on, an Alpha Strike 350 tournament, classic mercenaries campaign, BattleTech Aces demos, learn to play grinders, painting demos, Q&A with CSO artist Psycho, and they've got a Leviathans thing going on. So check out Southern Ontario BattleTech Society, and you can email them at SOBSCon, that's SOBSCON, 2025 at gmail.com for more information.
It's
Or
just
got the Metal
slightly southwest of Toronto.
There you go.
Exactly where I
up.
thought. Yeah.
That's exactly what I said.
Okay, so SOBSCon, there we go. Okay, next one coming up. Well, coming up in a while, but I'm going to announce it here. So, for our past history, the last time, let's see, the last time we were actually with these Arizona guys is when we were at LVO 2024, so the Las Vegas Open. And unfortunately, we didn't get really invited back to the Las Vegas Open this year in 2025. So,
Through no fault of our own.
through no fault of our own, they didn't have space for us. There's a lot of things going on, but they didn't have space for us to play our awesome game. So what we've done, and we being mostly me in my crazy mind, is we're going to be running kind of an independent, kind of weekend-long convention with just BattleTech present, pretty much. So we're going to be doing it in Vegas again, and it's going to be called the Desert Hot Drop. And this is going to be occurring September 19th through the 21st is when the gaming is going to happen. It's going to be in Las Vegas at the La Quinta South Airport, I believe is what it is. It's just literally on the big road south of the airport. We've got some meeting space that can hold about 50 of us at a time, and we are going to have a plethora of BattleTech going on. So we'll have both Alpha Strike and Classic BattleTech. On the Alpha Strike side, we'll have events such as an Alpha Strike 350 tournament and an Alpha Strike doubles tournament hosted by the Wolfnet guys. We'll have sections or sessions for hinterlands, so that'll be come and make a size or a scale 2 force and just play it. You can play it in the sessions there, or we'll also have open play time after hours. So we have the space pretty much open to us from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. right in the hotel. There will be a big Alpha Strike narrative event, some other drafted events, some other crazy, my own little Alpha Strike homebrew that kind of adds some rules to the kind of vanilla Alpha Strike, and then a massive lore-based battle on Sunday where we can get out all our toys and reenact some bit of the lore. On the classic side, we'll have a campaign in a day type thing. We'll also have sections for hinterlands. We'll have a BattleTech Through the Ages tournament, which I know these two fine gentlemen participated in last year and did very well in. Some other events like a Grinders, Solaris 7 tournament, one called 5K3U, which is 5,000 BV, 3 units, and there's some scenarios that go with that. And instant action, so there's going to be a variety of things going on. You will have many a choice. There's not a problem with that. The cost will be $50 for the whole weekend, or you can pay $40 for 2 days or $30 for 1 day. We'll fill up the space if you want to come and just play on the sideboard. We'll fill up the space with people that sign up for each day and have lots of fun. We'll have a couple social activities too. Just kind of a great time to come out and hang out with BattleTech friends and play lots of games. So with that, the announcement's going out, and I'll put out the announcement on social media and such this weekend, and we'll do the registration through Warhorn, which is my first time doing a Warhorn, so hopefully it works. But should be a great time. Desert Hot Drop 25, the first of many. So with that, anything from the Arizona crew? Anything you guys, any type of events or anything that you guys want to promote?
Gosh, I wish, but we don't really have a great convention scene for BattleTech down here. I've tried, believe me, and maybe it'll grow more in time, but, twist my arm. I guess I'll have to come see you guys in Vegas,
Yes.
play BattleTech all day, and go to nice restaurants all night. I mean, it's a hard sell, but somehow I'll manage.
We will
Twist
be
your arm a
excited to
little
have
harder.
you. Yeah. Yeah, it should be a great time. And the idea is for actually this event to travel a little bit. So every third year, it would move out of Vegas to the community that has most traveled to it in the preceding 2 years. So like if we get a lot of people coming from Arizona, then we would probably do in one of those third years, something in Phoenix, maybe at this awesome big store that you've got up there now. But yeah, so there's thoughts of doing that as well.
Very cool. I certainly would love to see y'all come down. That store is big enough. You could host a full tournament.
Yeah, when you talk about stores like that only makes my event planning mind go crazy. So, but yeah, we're looking forward to a lot of BattleTech being played. I know that right now, Brawl in the Bluegrass is going on this weekend, and out in Kentucky, and yeah, lots being played. Anyhow, that about wraps us up. So we're gonna go into shout
One more.
outs. Oh, wait. Wait, Ben, one
Don't
more. Thank you.
forget Adepticon.
Well, yeah, we can talk about Adepticon since it's not even a month away,
Got him.
It's like
and we're
2
both
weeks
going.
away. Yeah.
Ben, what are we doing at Adepticon?
So Adepticon is Adepticon. It's one of the kind of the start of the convention season for a lot of the just general gaming stuff. I know myself will be there. Matt will be there. Charles Gideon from WolfNet will be there. Aaron and Andrew from WolfNet will be there. Handful of podcast guys. And I know I'll be playing in the doubles tournament and the singles tournament for Alpha Strike on Thursday and Friday. And then I've left Wednesday and Saturday open to kind of wander and kind of check things out. What are you doing, Matt?
Yeah, I've been in the doubles tournament for a while, but they just opened up more space, so I'm going to be in on the singles tournament as well, where I will find myself in the middle of the pack where I'm most happy.
That's where all the fun takes place.
Yeah, that is where all the fun is. I don't have to be a tryhard, and I don't have to be a diehard. So, and other than that, I might be doing some Leviathans demos, but yeah, it'll just be cool. This will be my first time to go to Adepticon, so it'll be awesome to see what it's like. I'm excited for it. If you don't already have your Adepticon badge or plans, it is a little late, but there may still be availability. So, but if you're going to Adepticon, come hang out with us, come say hi, all the fun stuff.
Oh, show.
Show. Okay. Now, I think that's within a month. That's pretty much it. We'll say that. Okay, well, let's go to shoutouts. We'll give it to our two visitors first. Mike, you want to start us off with shoutouts?
Wow.
Not to put you on the spot
Yeah.
or anything, but now I put you on
Right.
the spot.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I mean, thank you guys for having this great podcast. I know it goes out to a lot of players, and again, it comes back to community. If we didn't have something like this, it wouldn't get people excited. As far as local, we've got a lot of great stores. We've got Tabletop Wargamers. We've got Gamers Guild. They have one in North Phoenix and they have one in Tempe. We have Old World Games in Scottsdale. We have Imperial Outpost in Glendale. We also have Funkatronic Rex. I believe they're still in Glendale. Primetime Games, they're in Tempe. And those are the ones that stand out in my mind. I'm sure David has a few others he could probably add to that list. And to all the players, we wouldn't be able to do this without the players. So I'll wrap it up there.
Very cool. David, over to you.
Can't believe you forgot Silver Dragon, Mike. Got to give them a shout out, especially since they are really diving hard into the restaurant concept themselves. Definitely a shout out to the players, especially the ones in my campaign. You guys are a big part of my life, and I'm so glad to be doing this with you. It's been some of the most fun I've ever had in my life, and it's made, hopefully, friends for life. So much appreciation to you all. Definite shout out to Catalyst for doing such a good job and bringing this all back. Shout out to Rim Alternus. We're sorry we bother you so much in Kappa Land. We don't mean to. And the big shout out to everyone in Phoenix. A challenge, a gauntlet thrown. We need to find out who the best of the best in the valley are. We need a tournament between all the game stores to find out who truly rules the Phoenix BattleTech scene. And if we can get that going, I'll put together the prize. So it's up to you guys to see if you can make it happen. It's been too long. We've been too fractured. There needs to be a trophy.
Wow. Thrown down. Well, I'm excited to hear how it happens. That's awesome. Mr. Viking himself, why don't you jump in next?
Come back to me.
Coming back around. That means it's you, Ben.
All right. I want to give a shout out to Hammersmith Guild in Albuquerque. I got to play some Alpha Strike with a few folks doing an Operation Guerrero game which was a lot of fun. Also, shout out to Etten Games. That was the first store I went to when I was in Albuquerque. I'd been there maybe less than 24 hours, and I walked in there, and there was 16 people playing Classic. One was a modified grinder game with lights and assaults, and 4 games of separate hinterlands campaigns going on. So that was pretty awesome to see. And I want to give a shout out to my boy Charles Gideon for getting together with me down at Inconceivable Games and throwing some dice. So kudos to you for getting out of the house again. Good job. That's all I got.
Awesome. Yeah, my shout outs go to one large group of people, and that's the people like these two fine folks that don't like go on social media and complain about stuff all the time. They just go and have fun and organize things and just play BattleTech, and that's awesome. So I just love people that just forget, the blabber online and just go and have fun. Specifically, I have to thank my two boys for being my in-house victims, because they're the ones I get to play with the most, and I do love that. Living in a small town has its ups and downs, and there's definitely not as many people here to play with, but it has been great to have people in-house to play with. And also for those that are helping me organize Desert Hot Drop, Metal Ed, thank you for the name. The name went through many iterations, and Metal Ed came up with the best one. And just everyone that's been excited to have us get back together in Vegas and make this great alternative kind of weekend BattleTech Con away from LVO and make it our own. So super excited about it, and thank you for everyone that's helping out, and you'll hear more about it as time goes on. With that, let's hit back to Mr. Viking Mike.
All right, so my shout out is going to be for the Matanuska Mechworks. It is an individual up here in Alaska in the Mat-Su region. He's got a YouTube channel where he does various like after action reports and all kinds of other stuff. He definitely has some good content on there. I first learned about it from Seth, actually. He shared in I think it was the WolfNet server a couple months ago. It was like, this is how you do an after action video. And I looked and I saw the name Matanuska, and I was like, ooh, I need to message this guy and see where he is, because I have a feeling. And yep, sure as shit, he's located up here in Alaska. And he's got some great videos on his YouTube channel. So go give him a look. Some good shit on there. So Matanuska Mechworks on YouTube.
I do really like his videos. I have watched quite a few of those, and then Dave just mentioned in the comments Wargamer Stories. I love like the special effects they put on their stuff. So I'm a sucker for those. So definitely both of those YouTube channels are awesome.
Yeah, I need to hit him up when I do start gaming again, and I sent him a message because he actually has his own Discord server as well. And I sent him a direct message and was like, "Are you by chance located?" And he was like, "I might be." So yeah, once the renovations and whatnot settle down, I need to hit him up and get a game in, because he says he just forces his family to reluctantly play with him from time to time. So I'm sure it's nice to have somebody that's equally enthusiastic about it to play with.
Yeah. There is, on that note, there is another one that I've watched a couple of his videos lately called Sick Figs on YouTube. If you need a laugh and you want to watch someone paint something, watch Sick Figs and just search that up, and BattleTech. Those are pretty good ones too, and he puts it together pretty. He's really tongue in cheek and everything, and it's pretty funny. So that's another one there.
And he's got
Anyhow,
the memes down pat too.
Oh yeah. I just laugh at like the way he puts things, and he like chucks his like paintbrushes everywhere, and oh man, that's good stuff. Good stuff. Anyhow, I think that ends up everything for tonight, and that means thank you, guests, and last call.
Last call.
Thanks so much for having us, guys. Last call.
Yeah, thank you so much. Super appreciate it. It was great chatting with you guys again. Last call.
Thanks for joining us today in the Valhalla Club. If you'd like to hang out with us and many other BattleTech podcasters, then be sure to join our Discord. Link is in the description. Special thanks to our sponsor, Ares Games and Miniatures. Ares is the premier online retailer for all your BattleTech needs. If you would like to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/the Valhalla Club. If you have any comments, please feel free to send an email to thevalhallaclub@outlook.com. Until next time, mech fans. Oh, Dave, I got a question for you real quick.
What do you got?
Has anyone ever compared your voice to Tex?
No, actually, though. Weird
You
thing.
sound
Quite
really similar to
similar,
Tex.
yeah.
Not
Yeah,
as deep.
yeah.
Not as deep, but the whole time I'm like, this sounds like Tex's like little brother or something, because it's not as deep, but the way your voice sounds and the way like you talk sounds just like him. I'm like, this is Tex.
It's a weird thing. Despite my actual real life job being attorney, everyone says my real life job should have been radio DJ. So I could be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
no,
I
we're
can
out
see
here
that.
tonight spinning BattleTech. Get ready. We've got some 3025 Succession War content coming at you. But first, message from Comstar. You know?
we need to.
Oh, you should definitely do that.
You need something with you and Tex on the same video or or something, man. That'd be awesome.
I'm down if you're down, and if he's down. Hey, maybe I can
Yeah.
narrate on something on one of his videos.
Yeah,
I'm
that'd
sure
be
he's doing
fun.
something fun next. I hope he's doing Luthien. You should do Luthien.
Yeah, convince him to where you'll do a set like a part instead of him, but pass it off as him and see if anyone picks it up.
I'll throw a little cough in and be like, oh, maybe Tex had a cold. No, it was this other guy, man. It's weird.
Yeah.
All sorts of conspiracy theories.